Peace be with all brothers and sisters.
愿神祝福大家让我们带领我们又进入这个礼拜的安息。
Thank God that He has blessed us that we can once again enter into the rest,
我
Sabbath
们
rest.
在上个礼拜，我们教会刚结束我们的读经进度刚好就我们就读完了圣经里面5卷的所谓的智慧书
Thank God from last week we have finished the five wisdom books within the Bible.
也就是所谓的约伯记、诗篇、箴言、传道书，还有雅歌这圣经里面的智慧书。
Which is the book of Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Songs of Solomon.
我们今天晚上来和大家来分享一些传道书的里面的一些感想
And tonight I would use the reflection within the book of Ecclesiastes as mutual encouragement.
我们请翻开这个传道书
Let's turn to the book of Ecclesiastes.
传道书的第1章
Ecclesiastes chapter 1.
传道书第1章第1节
Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 1.
说在耶路撒冷做王大卫的儿子传道者的言语。第2节
Verse 2.
传道者说，虚空的虚空，虚空的虚空，凡事都是虚空。
Verse 1, verse 2, verse 1. The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Verse 2. Vanity of vanities, said the preacher. Vanity of vanity, all is vanity.
那这个传道书一开始就刚我们提到这个作者说，在耶路撒冷做王，而且是大卫的儿子。
Here in the beginning it says that the word of the preacher is a king in Jerusalem. He's the son of
那
David.
第2节我们大家都很熟，都会背了他一开始就讲虚空的虚空，虚空虚空的虚空，凡事都是虚空。
And verse 2 is a very famous verse that we all know, which he said, vanity of vanities, all is vanity.
所以我们一想到传道书，就想到这2个字虚空。
And in the book of Ecclesiastes, we would always think of this word, vanity.
那我们其实看传道书是智慧书
But we know that the book of Ecclesiastes is a book of
在
wisdom.
传道书里面也常常提到一个字，就是日光之下。
And in the book of Ecclesiastes, they often say under the sun.
所以我今天晚上用这个题目说，因为又是智慧书嘛，他又提到日光之下，所以我们就用这个日光之下的智慧来互相勉励。
And in the book of Ecclesiastes, it always talk about under the sun. So today I would like to use wisdom under the sun as mutual
那
encouragement.
这日光之下，就是代表说我们人来到这个世界，活在这个世界上的我们的生命，我们的生活。
And under the sun means the life that we have living in this world.
也可以说我们每天过日子过的日子。
And we can also describe it as the the day-to-day life that we have.
那我们刚刚看到这个作者是用一个是王所以这是一个王所发出的一个心声
And we know this author is a king, so this is the sayings of the king.
我们看第3节，
Let's read verse 3.
说人一切的劳碌，就是他在日光之下的劳碌，有什么益处呢？
Verse 3, what profit has a man from all his labor in which he toils under the sun?
这里就开始就讲到这个日光之下的劳碌。
And here start talking about the labor under the sun.
我们再看第9节，
Let's read verse
说
9.
已有的事后必再有，已行的事后必再行，日光之下并无新事。
Verse 9, that which has been is what will be, that which is done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun.
所以你看，传道书这个作者一开始就在感叹在日光之下人的劳碌在日光之下没有什么新鲜的事情。
And in the beginning, we can see that the preacher, he's reflecting on the labor under the sun, and that under the sun, nothing is new.
我们再看12节，
Let's read verse 12.
说我传道者在耶路撒冷做过以色列的王。
Verse 12, I, the preacher, was king over Israel in Jerusalem.
所以我们一般都认为传道者这个作者所谓的传道者呢，就是指着这个谁所罗门王。
And because of this, we often say that the preacher is Solomon.
因为在耶路撒冷做过以色列王的大卫以外，就是这个所罗门王啊，后来王国就分了嘛。
And other than King David, who was king over Israel and Jerusalem, other than David, there's Solomon.
南朝的就是犹大国，他们就是以耶路撒冷首都，但是在做以色列王，全国的王就是他们两个。
And because after Solomon, the kingdom split into the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, and the southern kingdom of Judah was the capital was Jerusalem.
那我们看这里的语气是说，他做过这个以色列的王，所以代表说他现在已经没有再做王。当他在写这个传道书的时候。
And only two kings that rule the kingdom as a whole, which is David and Solomon. And here we can see that he said he was king over Israel, which means that when he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes, he was no longer king.
所以我们可以说，传道书是当这个所罗门王他在他一生，他是一个君王的身份，结束之后，当他在回顾他一生所经历的事情，他所写出来的。
And therefore, the book of Ecclesiastes was written after Solomon had finished his reign, and he was reflecting back on his ruling.
所以我们再继续看13节。
Let's continue to read verse 13.
他说：“我专心用智慧寻求查究天下所做的一切事，乃知神教世人所经历的都是极重的劳苦。”14节。
Verse 14.
我见日光之下所做的一切事都是虚空，都是捕风。
Verse 13 and 14. Verse 13. And I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that is done under heaven. This burdensome task God has given to the sons of men, by which they may be exercised. Verse 14. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and indeed all is vanity and grasping for the wind.
我们知道所罗门一生他真的做过很多事情，除了打仗之外，他大概你看他建圣殿、盖王宫，还有娶很多妻子，做很多事情。
We know that in Solomon's life, he'd done a lot of things other than fighting battles. He established the temple and he married many
他
wives.
说这些在日光之下做的一切事，说都是虚空，都是捕风。
But he commented that everything that is done under the sun, indeed, all is vanity and grasping for the
我们
wind.
再来看16节，
Let's continue to read verse
你看他
16.
心里这样的议论，他跟他自己心讲话。16节。
Verse 16.
说我心里议论说，我得了大智慧，胜过我以前在耶路撒冷的众人，而且我心中多经历智慧和知识的事。17节。
Verse 17.
我又专心查明智慧、狂妄和愚昧，乃知这也是捕风。18节。
Verse 18.
因为多有智慧，就多有愁烦；加增智的，就加增忧伤。
Verse 16 to 18. Verse 16. I commune with my heart, saying, Look, I have attended greatness and have gained more wisdom than all who were before me in Jerusalem. My heart has understood great wisdom and knowledge. Verse 17. And I set my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is grasping for the wind. Verse 18. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he who increased knowledge increases sorrow.
所罗门王在世的时候，最有名一件事情就是神问他要求什么，他什么都没求，他只向神求什么？求智慧，可以治理他的国家，治理百姓。
And the most famous deed of Solomon was when God asked him what did he want as a gift. Solomon asked for wisdom so that he may govern over the people of God.
所以他的智慧胜过众人了。
And so his wisdom was greater than all men.
圣经说他的智慧是极其的广大。
And in the Bible, it described how vastly Solomon's wisdom
所以
was.
圣经里面所罗门的智慧是非常有名的，因为没有人像他一样。
And therefore, in the Bible, Solomon's wisdom is very famous because there was no one on the earth that was like him.
他说他专心的这样查明智慧、狂妄还有愚昧。他这里讲到3个事情智慧、狂妄、愚昧，说这都是捕风。
And here in verse 17, he described that he set his heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. And he described three things, wisdom, madness, and folly. And he described that all is grasping for the
我们
wind.
听到这样，真的看到所罗门好像就是在反省他自己。你看，他是一个很有智慧的人。
And from this, we can see that Solomon is really reflecting on himself, and he is a person with great wisdom.
他有一度也是非常的狂妄，这边说是疯狂一样。
And there was a time where he known madness
为什么？你看他娶了那么多妻妾啊，
because he had many wives and
不
concubines.
是只是许多而已哦，是上千个这样一个这么多的妻妾啊，是
And
很疯狂的，是不是？
it's not just many, he had 1,000 wives and
那
concubines.
不止这样，你看后来他又跟那些妻妾怎么样去拜他们的神、拜偶像啊，追随他们，这是很愚妄的事情啊，是不是？
And furthermore, Solomon went with his wives and concubines to worship their gods and idols, and this is something that is it's madness.
所以你看他很专心在查明他自己到底是智慧呢，是狂妄呢，还是愚昧呢？但是不管怎么样，他认为这一切通都是虚空，都是捕风。
So he set his heart to know whether this was wisdom, madness, or folly, but he concluded saying that all of this are grasping for the wind.
甚至认为说他那么有智慧，但是给他带来只是愁烦，增加他的忧伤。
And he said that even though he was very wise, but those wisdom gave him much grief and it gave him much sorrow.
所以他曾经想借着说什么，他感觉生命是这样，所以他也想借着什么，借着说享乐了，看能不能来稍微来弥补一下他这种空虚的感觉、虚空的感觉。
And because he knew life to be very grasping for the wind, and so he set his heart to fulfill his life by enjoying himself.
那我们再看第2章第1节。
Let's read chapter 2, verse 1.
所以我心里就说：“来吧，我以喜乐试试你，你好享福。谁知这也是虚空。”
Verse 1, I said in my heart, Come now, I will test you with mirth. Therefore enjoy pleasure, but surely this also was vanity.
你看，从第4节开始记载他做的事情，我们更可以确定这个作者就是所罗门了。我们来看第4节。
And from verse 4 onwards, it describes what he did, and we can very surely conclude that this was Solomon.
第4节
Verse 4.
说：“我为自己动大工程，建造房屋，栽种葡萄园。”第5节
Verse 5.
修造园囿，在其中栽种各样果木树。第6节
Verse 6.
挖造水池，用以浇灌嫩小的树木。第7节
Verse 7.
我买了仆杯，也有生在家中的仆杯，又有许多牛群、羊群，胜过以前在耶路撒冷众人所有的。第8节
Verse 8.
我又为自己积蓄金银和君王的财宝，并各省的财宝，又得唱歌的男女和世人所喜爱的物，并许多的妃嫔。第9节
Verse 9.
这样我就日渐昌盛，胜过以前在耶路撒冷的众人，我的智慧仍然存留。
Verse 4 to 9. Verse 4, I made my works great. I built myself houses and planted myself vineyards. Verse 5, I made myself gardens and orchards, and I planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. Verse 6, I made myself water pools from which to water the growing trees of the grove. Verse 7, I acquired male and female servants and had servants born in my house. Yes, I had greater possessions of herds and flocks than all who were in Jerusalem before me. Verse 8, I also gathered of myself silver and gold and the special treasures of the kings and of the provinces. I acquired male and female singers, the delights of the sons of men, and musical instruments of all kinds. Verse 9, so I became great and excelled more than all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me.
所以你看，所罗门王他为了要来填补他这种空虚的感觉他为自己做了许多的事情。
And King Solomon, in order to fulfill his feeling of vanity, he did many things.
他积蓄了许多的财宝，有各样的东西啦。我们刚刚读的 说他日渐昌盛，胜过所有的人啊。
And he gathered for himself a lot of special treasures, and he did many things for himself.
那我们再看第10节，
And let's continue to read verse 10.
说凡我眼所求的，我没有留下不给他的；我心所乐的，我没有禁止不享受的。因我的心为我一切所劳碌的快乐，这就是我从劳碌中所得的份。17节。
Verse 17.
后来我查看我手所经营的一切事，和我劳碌所成的功，谁知都是虚空，都是捕风，在日光之下毫无益处。
Sorry, verse 10 to verse 11. Verse 10, whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I did not withhold my heart from any pleasure, for my heart rejoiced in all my labor. And this was my reward from all my labor. Verse 11, then I looked on all the works that my hand had done, and on the labor in which I had toiled. And indeed, all was vanity and grasping for the wind. There was no profit under the sun.
所以我们看所罗门王他一生他所得到的，他所拥有的一切啊。
We can see that everything that Solomon had owned in his life and everything that he had received,
他的成就，他的成功，
his experience and his success,
还有他所享受的一切东西，
and everything that he had enjoyed.
你看这些东西不正是就是我们今天世人大家所很想要的吗？我们很多人在追求的，就是所罗门王他所追求而且得到的这一切，不是吗？
Are these things not the things that we pursue in our life? And are these things not the things that Solomon had pursued and gained in his life?
你看他又是一个君王啊，
He is a king.
所以你看很奇妙的啊！你看圣经这个传道书，借着这样一个人物，却说出说，在日光之下一切都是虚空，一切都是捕风。
And therefore, the Bible, through character like this, described that everything under the sun is vanity and grasping for the wind.
因为这样让这个传道书深具意义，对不对？
And this allowed the book of Ecclesiastes to have its own meaning.
对我们的芸众生来说，是不是也更具有说服力呢？
And for us, the audience today, it has a greater persuadance.
因为它这些东西都是我们今天世人活在世界上，在日光之下，我们想要的，我们很多人努力在追求的，不就是这一些东西吗？
Because all these things we pursue under the sun and everything that we seek to acquire.
但是你看所罗门说说这些都是捕风啦，风怎么抓？风到处都是啊，一抓，但是你一打开是空的。
And Solomon described it as all is grasping for the wind. And how can we grasp for the wind? We can feel wind, but then when we open it, it's nothing.
我们人以为你可以抓住这些东西，但是哪知道说这些东西像风一样，你抓了，但是里面是空的。
And even men think that they can grasp onto the wind, and even though we grasp onto these things, when we look inside, it's empty.
但是所罗门虽然这样陈述虚空还有捕风，并不是我们今天要讲这个日光之下的智慧啊。
And however, all these things of vanity and grasping for the wind are not things that we are talking about today, which is wisdom under the sun.
我们在学习这个在读传道书，不要一想到传道就想到虚空，不是啊，虚空不是捕风，不是传道书的结论啊，不是，是它的前提而已啊，不是结论。
It's when we think about the book of Ecclesiastes, we should not think about all just vanity and grasping for the wind, because these are not the conclusion of Ecclesiastes. Rather, it's just the beginning.
你看所罗门王因为有这样的体验所以促使他去思想怎么样才能让他的虚空的日光之下这种虚空的生命不再是虚空啊，这个才是他做传道书的一个智慧了，他的动机在这里啊。
And because Solomon had the experience of vanity and grasping for the wind, and so he used Ecclesiastes to seek out how can he have his life under the sun, which is empty, to not be empty anymore.
因为这样他要去让他的生命，让他在日光之下，不会过着一个虚空捕风的生活啊，是不是？
And therefore, his motivation was so that his life under the sun would no longer be in vain and grasping
那
for the
这个就
wind.
是日光之下要有的智慧。
And this is what the wisdom that we must have under the sun.
我们提一个几点来看，到底这个所罗门在这个传道书里面，这个真的智慧要告诉我们一些什么？除了说这个虚空捕风之外。
And we will use a few points within the book of Ecclesiastes to determine how how Solomon was looking for wisdom under the sun.
我们看第2章的24节。
Let's see chapter 2, verse 24.
2章24节
Chapter 2, verse 24.
说：“人莫强如吃喝，且在劳碌中享福。我看这也是出于神的手。”
Verse 24, nothing is better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that his soul should enjoy good in his labor.
在这个传道书里面，我们如果看过就知道他有几次就用到这个说，人没有强过这些事情说没有什么事情比这些事情更好。
And here, the Solomon had made it many times that nothing that we do is greater than the man.
Nothing is better
Nothing is better for a
那
man.
在这里讲到说，没有比吃喝，而且在劳碌中享福更好。说这是出于神的手的。
And said that nothing is better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that his soul should enjoy his labor, because this was from the hand of God.
这个吃喝不是说吃好东西、喝好酒，不是而是代表什么？吃喝是我们每天要做的事，就是这个在日常生活里面的这种饮食啦。
And this eat and drink is not to eat good food and to drink good wine, rather is to eat and drink just in our daily life.
它所代表就是我们很平凡的日常生活。
It represents a normal livelihood.
我们再看这个3章12节。
Let's turn to chapter 3, verse 12.
3章12节说：“我知道世人莫强如这里又莫强如了说我知道世人莫强如终身喜乐行善。13节，
Verse 13.
并且人人吃喝，在他一切劳碌中享福，说这也是神的恩赐。”
Verse 12 and 13. Verse 12. I know that nothing is better for them than to rejoice and to do good in their lives. Verse 13. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God.
你看，这是在日光之下神的恩赐
And this is the gift of God under the sun.
没有比说终身喜乐行善更好了。
There's nothing better for them than to rejoice and to do good in their
而且又
lives.
讲到吃喝，说在一切劳碌中吃喝享福说这都是神的恩赐。
And here it also makes mention that every man should eat and drink and enjoy all good of all his labor, and it is the gift of God.
我们再看第22节，
Let's read verse 22.
说故此我见人莫强如在他经营的事上喜乐，因为这是他的份，他身后的事谁能使他回来得见呢？
In verse 22, so I perceive that nothing is better than that a man should rejoice in his own works, for that is his heritage. For who can bring him to see what will happen after him?
你看这里就是一次莫强如，说什么？没有比说一个人能够在他所经营的事上，就是在他的工作上喜乐了，工作中的喜乐。
And here it continues to again says nothing is better than that a man should rejoice in his own works, and his own works means that his work, that a person may find a job that they like.
我们常说乐在工作中，
We
这是
often
一种福气一种智慧
we often say joy in work because this is a type of blessing, a type of gift.
我们再看第8章15节。
Let's continue to read chapter 8, verse 15.
8章15节
Chapter 8, verse 15.
说：“我就称赞快乐，原来人在日光之下，莫强如吃喝快乐，因为他在日光之下，神是他一生的年日，要从劳碌中时常享受所得的。”
Verse 15, so I commended enjoyment because a man has nothing better under the sun than to eat, drink, and be merry. For this will remain with him in his labor all the days of his life, which God gives him under the sun.
你看这里也是一样，讲到吃喝要快乐，然后要在劳碌中享福。
Here also makes mention of that we must eat and drink and be merry and enjoy labor all the days of his life.
你看他说这是神赐给他的。
And because this is what God gives him under the
我们
sun.
刚刚看到这几个莫强如其实你看他讲的就是我们的什么，我们的每天的生活，是不是？
And the few mentions that we have about nothing is better than, they're all describing the things that we would do in our lives.
一个有智慧的人应该要能够从平凡的生活中来找到什么？找到不虚空的生命，是不是？
And a wise person should, from their normal life, find a life that will not be in vain.
生活可以很简单啊，但是却可以不虚空。
Our life can be very simple, but it can be without vanity.
这是出于神的手啊，神所赐的。
Because this is out of God's hand, and this is what God gives.
我们再看一节，第9章第9节。
Let's turn to another verse, chapter 9, verse 9.
说，在你一生虚空的年日，就是神赐你在日光之下虚空的年日，当同你所爱的妻快活度日，因为那是你生前在日光之下劳碌的事上所得的份。
Verse 9, live joyfully with the wife whom you love all the days of your vain life, which he has given you under the sun. All your days are vanity, for that is your portion in life and in the labor which you perform under the sun.
这里说，这是虚空的年日，是神所赐的啊。
And here it says that the vain life which we have, God has given us.
然后要同你所爱的妻要能够快活度日。
We have to live joyfully with the wife whom you have under the sun.
因为我们能够活在这个世界上，就是神所赐的。
Because for us to be able to live on the earth, this is what God had given
我
us.
们就要珍惜我们的日子，就是我们的生活啊。
We have to cherish this life, which is which God has given life.
从这个劳碌中，从吃喝当中，从喜乐行善当中，从这个夫妻代表一种家庭生活当中，怎么样来得到那种生命的那种不空虚，是不是？
And through our labor, through our family life, and through eating and drinking, we have to, receive a life that is not in vain.
所以从传道书我们可以看到，这个所罗门在告诉我们，智慧就隐藏在我们的平凡生活当中了，我们要去发掘。
From the book of Ecclesiastes, we can see that Solomon is telling us that the unvain life is hidden within our normal life.
那我们可以看到传道书还提到一个就是这个所罗门他怎么样看重事情的终局，认为那是更有价值的。
And also from the book of Ecclesiastes, we can also see that Solomon viewed heavily on the ending of a
我们
situation.
看7章的8节，
Let's read chapter 7, verse 8.
7章的8节
Chapter 7, verse 8.
说事情的终局强如事情的起头，念这一句就好。
And verse 8, the end of a thing is better than its beginning.
我们知道我们在这个告别式的时候，很多引到圣经的句子从哪里出来？从传道书里面引出来的。
And many of the times when we have funerals, the Bible verses that we read are from the book of Ecclesiastes.
你看所罗门他强调的，他所看重是什么？事情的结局更重要。
Because Solomon had emphasized that the end of a thing is better than its beginning.
我们有时候常常会讲说，事情的重过程啊，不重结果啊。那个社会上是这样，那我们的信仰是重结果，不是重过程啊。
And in our many of the times in our life, in the world, they describe that the process is much more important than the conclusion, but rather our faith, the end is better than the beginning.
你过程也许很精彩，你做了很多我们所谓的圣功啊，你成就了很多事情，但是你的结果 啊，不好的话，那这些过程啊，好的开始也失去它的价值，是吗？
And perhaps in your faith, the process, you did many great things and you've done many good things, but then your ending is bad, then it's really, the ending it will be bad.
我们看第7章的第1节，
Let's read chapter 7, verse 1.
说名誉强如美好的膏油，人死的日子胜过人生的日子。第2节，
Verse 2.
往糟上的家去，强如往宴乐的家去，因为死是众人的结局，活人也必将这事放在心上。
Chapter 7, verse 1 and verse 2. Verse 1, a good name is better than precious ornament, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. Verse 2, better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will take it to heart.
第4节
Verse 4,
说，智慧人的心在糟上之家，愚昧人的心在快乐之家。
verse 4, the heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth.
哦，你看这里哈，这个传道书里面这样的一种价值观，你看和这个世界是很大的不一样，是不是？
And the value system that is presented in the book of Ecclesiastes is very different from the value system of the world.
啊，人都巴不得要离那个死亡的事情越远越好。
In the world, people would like to leave death as far as possible.
很多人都故意不去谈论事情，故意不去面对那个事实。
And many people, they hide from talking about death, or they try not to talk about it.
但是一个日光之下啊，我们要很严肃的要去看待这个生命的结局这一件事情。
But when we're under the sun, we have to look heavily and place emphasis on the ending of life,
它是更有价值的
because that has more value.
啊。我们看第3章11节，
Let's turn to chapter 3, verse 11.
为什么呢？
Why?
啊，3章11节
Chapter 3, verse 11.
啊，我们看第9节啊。
Let's read verse 9.
说这样看来，做事的人在他的劳碌上有什么益处呢？第10节，
Verse 10.
我见神叫世人劳苦，使他们在其中受精炼。11节，
Verse 11.
神造万物各按其时成为美好，又将永生安置在世人的心里。然而神从始至终的作为，人不能参透。
Verse 9 to 11, verse 9, what profit has the worker from that in which he labors? Verse 10, I have seen the God-given task with which the sons of men are to be occupied. Verse 11, he has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from the beginning to end.
人在世界上的这些劳碌，到底对我们有什么好处呢？
What has the labor of a man from beginning to end? How does that benefit
说
us?
神叫世人劳苦，在这个世界上要受各种的精炼熬炼。
It says that God allows a man, to be occupied so that he can have the experience
为
of
什
the
么？
world from
为什么要
beginning
这
to
样？
end.
为什么要这
Why?
样？你看11节就告诉我们，
Verse
神把
11 it
永
tells
生
us.
安置在我们人的心里面啊。
In verse 11, it tells us that he has put eternity in our
我们
hearts.
知道第3章在讲到说，凡事都有定期，天下万物都有定时。
And we know that chapter 3 is talking about there is a season and there's a time for everything under heaven.
所以一开始讲到说，生有时，然后死也有时啊。
And it says that there is a time to be born, time to die.
那这里说神造万物，然后各按其时成为美好。死时有什么好美好的呢？但是这里说，按着这个时候要成为美好，为什么呢？
He said he has made everything beautiful in its time, and what is beautiful about the time to die? But in the time, God has made it beautiful.
对一个有永生盼望的人，死对他来说就是美好的事情啊。
To someone who has the hope of eternity, death is a beautiful thing.
啊，但是这里说神的作为人不能够参透。
But here it says that no one can find out the work that God does.
我们人对这个死后的事情，我们仍然很无知，尤其在旧约时代啊。
And we are still very ignorant to the fact of things after death, especially in the Old Testament.
所以我们在旧约常常讲说，人死了就往阴间去了。
And that's why in the Old Testament, many of us say that after men had died, then they go to Hades.
那知道那是一个人不想去的地方，那也不晓得那是一个什么样的地方。
And we know that that is a place where people do not want to go, but we do not know what a place that is.
所罗门王他也不明白，所罗门王。
King Solomon did not understand that as well.
他只知道说，这个结局很重要，但是再来要怎么，他也不明白。
He only knew that the ending is very important, but after the ending, he did not know what would happen.
因为这个永生的真理还没有带来啊，耶稣基督还没降临啊。
Because the gospel of eternity had not been brought by the Lord.
所以我们看那个第9章第10节。
Let's read chapter 9, verse 10.
第9章第10节。
Chapter 9, verse 10.
说凡你手所当做的事，要尽力去做，因为在你所必去的阴间，没有工作，没有谋算，没有知识，也没有智慧。
Verse 10, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with your might, for there is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you are going.
所罗门知道有永生啊，因为神把它放在心里，他知道有一个永恒的东西。
And Solomon knew about an eternal life because God had put eternity in our hearts.
但是他对人的死，你看他没有概念。他说：“你要做的事情要赶快尽力去做，因为再来你如果死了，要到阴间去。”说那你什么都没有啊，甚至连说没有谋算知识，也没有做，好像你什么甚至感觉都没有因为他不知道那是怎么一回事。
And therefore, but Solomon did not have a grasp on death. So then, in verse 10, he said that whatever your hand finds to do, do it with your might, for there is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you are going.
虽然我们今天我们在查考旧约的时候，我们都已经早就看到那个永恒天国、永生的真理在里面了，但是在主耶稣还没来到之前，那是一个大家还不是完全明白的事情。虽然我们现在在看旧约的时候，已经可以看到那个永生、永恒的国度那样的讯息在旧约里面。
And even though right now, when we look at the Old Testament, we can see the message of eternity that will be presented in the New Testament.
那是因为主耶稣来让我们明白。
That is because Jesus had came and that He allowed us to understand.
因为新约的来到，那个主体显现出来，所以才能够一回头去看旧约的时候，我们就从里面才看到说，原来这个在旧约的时候已经有那个永生天国的影子在里面了，是不是？
And we are allowed to know because Jesus had came and the substance was provided to us so that we can go back and look at the Old Testament and see the hints of eternity within the Old
本
Testament.
来人是无知的，对这方面事情是无知的
Originally, man was ignorant to this gospel.
因为这里像我们刚刚读的所罗门王那么聪明，他也说你要去那个地方什么都没有啊。
And even a wise king such as Solomon, he said that where we are going, there is nothing there.
但是我们看所罗门却知道说有审判。
But Solomon know that there is judgment.
我们看这个11章。
Let's read verse 11, chapter 11.
虽然他不能够不了解这个将来那个永生人死后的情形，但是他就知道有审判。
Even though Solomon was unable to grasp the concept of what will happen after death, but he knew that there is judgment.
我们看11章
Read chapter 11,
第9节，
verse 9.
说少年人啊，你在幼年时当快乐，在幼年的日子使你的心欢畅，行你心所愿行的，看你眼所爱看的，却要知道为这一切的事，神必审问你。
Verse 9, Rejoice, O young men, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Walk in the ways of your heart and in the sight of your eyes. But know that for all these, God will bring you into judgment.
第10节，
Verse 10,
所以你当从心中除掉愁烦，从肉体克去邪恶， 因为一生的开端和幼年之时都是虚空的。
Verse 10, Therefore remove sorrow from your heart and put away evil from your flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity.
你看他知道有一个审判。
He knows that there is a judgment.
我们看最后一章最后一节，
Let's read the last chapter, the last verse.
这是传道书的结论，
And this is the conclusion of the book of Ecclesiastes,
14节啊
verse 14.
，12章14节。
Chapter 12, verse 14.
说，因为人所做的事，连一切隐藏的事，无论是善是恶，神都必审问。
Verse 14, For God will bring every good work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil.
你看，当主耶稣降生来到世界上之后，
We know that after Jesus had came to the world,
他一传福音就说天国近了
and he started preaching, saying that heaven is near.
啊，主耶稣来显明天国的道理，
And God had came to reveal the message of
你们
heavenly
跟从
kingdom.
他的今生得百倍，来生得永生。
And those who follow him shall have 100-folds this life, and in the next life shall receive eternity.
哦，主耶稣讲到审判呢、
And Jesus also talked about judgment,
说父将一切的审判的权柄全交给他，
that the Father had given him the authority to judge,
说他的话要来审判世界。
and that his word shall judge the world.
主耶稣讲到天国跟地狱的情形啊，
And Jesus also talked about heaven and Hades, hell.
你看主耶稣讲那个财主跟拉撒路的比喻啊，
And Jesus even spoke of the parable of the rich man and Lazarus.
所以很明显的，主耶稣来到就把这个当时这个所罗门王隐隐知道却不明白的事情，因为主耶稣的来到就彰显出来。
And because of Jesus' coming, he revealed the things that Solomon sort of knew about eternal life.
所以他看重结局，
And Solomon looked heavily upon the ending.
他知道那个要做一个最后的决定，
And he knew that there will be a last
所以
decision
他
at the
才会
end.
他才会说要往招上的家去啊！一个有智慧的人要往招上的家去。
And that's why he said that the wise will go to the house of mourning.
所以这是日光之下的智慧啊！我们从这个传道书里面可以学到的。
And the wisdom under the sun is a teaching that we can learn from the book of Ecclesiastes.
我们来看这个最后这个传道书的结论。
Let's see the conclusion of the book of
12章
Ecclesiastes.
的13节，
In chapter 12, verse 13.
传道书12章13节
Chapter 12, verse 13.
说这些事都已经听见了，总意就是敬畏神，谨守他的诫命，这是人所当尽的本分。14节，
14.
因为人所做的事，连一切隐藏的事，无论是善是恶，神都必审问。
Verse 13 and 14. Verse 13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is man's all. Verse 14, for God will bring every work into judgment, including every secret thing, whether good or evil.
这些事上面讲的那一些事，不管是什么虚空、什么捕风，或是听起来好像不明白的，但是虽然都听见了，但是没有关系。最重要的结论是什么呢？
And everything that he has mentioned in the beginning, a vanity, grasping of winds, or some things that he does not really understand, but what the conclusion is,
说就是敬畏神，谨守他的诫命
is that we must fear God and keep his commandments.
说这是人所当尽的本分。
For this is man's all.
旧约、新约就是在教导怎么样敬畏神，怎么样遵守他的命令，是不是？
And in the Old Testament and the New Testament, it all describe how we can keep God's commandments.
这里说说这个就是人所当尽的本分，这是中文的翻译了。
And in the Chinese version, it had translated to that this is man's responsibility.
这里其实没有这种 duty 或是他的，也是没有这个字，是后来就是没有原文里面没有这个本分这样的意思。
But the responsibility in the original text, it did not have a word that had this type of meaning.
你看他这个英文说，这些就是人的所有啊。 man's all， 人所有的就是这一些而已啊。
In the English version, it described that, for this is man's all.
人在日光之下，全部是什么？就是要敬畏神，遵守他的诫命啊。
What is man's all under the sun? It is to fear God and keep His commandments.
这是他做的所罗门王做的结论。
And this is the conclusion that King Solomon had.
所以你可以看到说他多么强调这个事情。
And therefore, we can see that how much emphasis he had placed on this matter.
所以传道书不是在强调人生是虚空是捕风，不是这个，而是在强调什么？因为这样，所以人的所有最重要的就是什么？敬畏神，守他的诫命。
In the book of Ecclesiastes, his emphasis was not on that everything is in vain and everything is grasping for the wind. Rather, it is talking about we must fear God and keep His
我
commandments.
们知道，我们将来要承受永生，对不对？永恒的天国，就是要做，要去做的，要去遵守的，追求的，就是这个事情啊，敬畏他，遵守他的诫命，照着他的话去行。
We know that in the future we will inherit eternal life in heavenly kingdom, and all that we must do is to fear God and keep His
这里
commandments.
讲到敬畏神啊，
Here it talked about fearing God.
这个五个这个智慧书，你可以看到它一个很主要的讯息就是敬畏神。
And among the 5 wisdom books, we can see a running theme that is to fear God.
你看约伯记，
Let's say the book of Job.
你看神跟撒旦怎么说？
What did God talk
你们
to?
看
How
到
did
约伯完全正直，然后敬畏神，然后远离恶事。
and how God described Job to Satan? He said that, look at my servant Job, perfect and fear God and shun evil.
约伯为什么能够完全正直，能够远离恶事？那个根本的原因就是他心中敬畏神啊。一个心中敬畏的神的人，他表现出来的就是什么？正直啊，然后什么？远离恶事啊，因为他敬畏神。
And how was Job able to be blameless and upright and feared God and shun evil? How is he be able to blameless and upright? Is because he had feared God.
所以撒旦才会说，约伯敬畏你，难道没有原因吗？你看，他也知道这个是关键啊。
And that's why Satan said to God and said that, do you think that Job fear you for no reason?
那我们读过那个诗篇箴言，你看敬畏耶和华，他是用那个 Lord 敬畏耶和华。你看这个字哈，就是在诗篇箴言里面就是一直的出现啊，敬畏耶和华。
And it concludes in other books that also talked about to fear the Lord.
诗篇和箴言。
In the book of Psalms and Proverbs.
那传道书里面也一直在重复到这一句话。
And in the book of Ecclesiastes, it also continues to say this phrase.
我们看5章第7节。
Let's turn to chapter 5, verse 7.
5章第7节
Chapter 5, verse 7.
说：多梦和多言，其中多有虚幻，你只要敬畏神。
Verse 7, for in the multitude of dreams and many words there is also vanity, but fear God.
多梦多言啊，也是我们这个不明白啊，或是没有关系，重要要敬畏神，是不是？
In the multitude of dreams and many words, these are things that perhaps we do not understand, but that doesn't matter. We all have to fear the Lord.
7章18节。
As chapter 7, verse 18.
你持守这个为美，那个也不松手，因为敬畏神的人必从这2样出来。
Verse 18.
7章18节。
Sorry, chapter 7, verse 18. Verse 18, it is good that you grasp this, and also not remove your hand from the other, for he who fears God will escape them all.
这里讲到这2样是哪2样？就是16节和17节讲的了。
What are these 2 things that are referred here? It is verse 16 and 17.
16节说不要行义过分，那也不要自成智慧了。也是说也不要说 说 overly wise 是什么？就是就是不要过分了说何必自取败亡啊？17节说不要行恶过分也不要愚昧过分
In verse 16, it says that do not be overly righteous nor be overly wise. And verse 17, it says, do not be overly wicked nor be foolish.
说要紧的是敬畏神，因为人有时候都会犯这两种错，都会有这种两种软弱。
But we must fear God and we will escape them all. And often these two things are the weaknesses of men.
我们行义过分，或是我们都自逞智慧，让我们骄傲自己还不知道。
We may be overly righteous or overly wise and cause us to be very proud.
我们行恶过分，或是愚昧过分，不知道悔改一错再错刻意的去犯错。
And perhaps we are overly wicked or foolish and we sin intentionally.
所以要赶快要能够悔改回头
But we must repent and we have to turn back.
但是不管怎么样没有关系，因为重要是你要做一个敬畏神。你只要敬畏神的人，你就不会行义过分，你也不会行恶过分。
But that doesn't matter. As long as we turn back and we fear the Lord, then we will not be overly righteous, overly wise, or overly wicked or foolish.
我们再看这个8章12节。
Let's turn to chapter 8, verse 12.
说恶人虽然作恶100次，倒享长久的年日，然而我准知道，敬畏神的，就是在他面前敬畏的人，终必得福乐。13节。
Verse 13.
恶人却不得福乐，也不得长久的年日，这年日好像影儿，因他不敬畏神。
Verse 12 and 13. 12, though a sinner does evil 100 times and his days are prolonged, yet I surely know that it will be well with those who fear God, who fear before him. Verse 13, but it will not be well with the wicked, nor will he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he does not fear God before him.
为什么恶人作恶那么多，他能够享长久的年日？不知道原因，因为神有他的计划，神的。不知道没有关系但是他确定什么？敬畏神的人，他一定会享福乐，这是这个所罗门知道的。
And Solomon was, why do wicked people have long days? This we do not know, because this is God's thinking. But then, as long as we fear Him, we will surely be blessed and have 100-fold.
那些不敬畏神的人，他的福乐什么，就像影儿一样。
Because it says that his days, the wicked, those who do wicked, his days are like our shadow.
还有刚刚我们已经有读最后13节说，总意那个结论就是敬畏神，遵守他的诫命。
As what we have read just now in chapter 12, verse 13, it says that the conclusion is to fear God.
所以你看，传道书这一本智慧书也是在强调敬畏神的重要。
And therefore, the book of Ecclesiastes is talking about the importance of fearing the Lord.
你看他虽然感叹这个日光之下的这些虚空捕风，但是他同时也看到在这其中日光之下的智慧。
Even though he recognized the vanity and grasping for the wind under the sun, but he also understood the wisdom that is under the sun.
所以我们就用这个传道书大家彼此勉励，让我们在这个日光之下也都能够得到属灵的智慧。
And we use the book of Ecclesiastes and the wisdom under the sun as mutual encouragement, so that we may gain wisdom.
一起来唱诗351首应该是51首。
Let's sing hymn 351.